Welcome to Combat Corals, where we discuss reef trends, how to combat reef deterioration and cool saltwater stuff.
Tell em hardcore, tell em how it is.
This video on my Combat Corals YouTube channel is going to cover my transfer of a 66-gallon mixed reef tank to my new 125-gallon tank.
Yes, Combat Corals, this is cool.
I'm Carl Hardcore and this is my sidekick Elena.
Tell em hardcore. Now let's do some real cool reefing stuff. Yes, cool reefing stuff. Let's first talk about the old tank and then show the new one.
Elena, let's cruise over to Carl's and see what's going on.
Yes, more neat reefing stuff.
Combat Corals! Hey everybody, this is Carl Mayfield. Welcome to Combat Corals. This is my new 125-gallon reef tank. The goal here of this video is going to take this 66-gallon reef tank, which is an old Red Sea Max 250C. We're going to take this tank here, we're going to retrofit it into that 125-gallon tank I just showed you. So this tank here is about, I bought it back in 2009, 2008 time frame. It used to have a rack of T5s on top, 539-watt T5s, but eventually the T5s went bad and I had to retrofit this DIY, pretty shady looking hood up here. But I have up here a Reef Bright strip you can see there. I have two HD pucks, AI primes. I've got one 26 HD on the left over there or back there. And I also have four 24-inch T5 bulbs. They're kind of shady, but it does the trick. So this tank is pretty filled up with corals. As you see here, this is a big, that's a big coral there. It's a bubble coral. I've got a lot of huge mushrooms, kind of too many mushrooms. Those clowns there, one of them I've had for 10 years now. He's a hard charger. He's been mated with that other clown there. They've had eggs a few times. I haven't grown out any little clownsies yet, but they have mated. As you can see, this tank is full of corals. It's all overgrown. There's that big bubble coral again, size of a basketball basically. It's actually growing against the glass here. You can see where it's growing against the glass. It's getting way too big for this tank. So we need to take the contents of this tank and move them over to that 125-gallon tank, and that's what I'm going to be doing over the next few videos here. So this tank here, these corals in this tank have served me pretty well. There's the new tank. That's the 125, just starting to get it set up. I've got the lights up there. I'm using the AI hybrid, or the Hydra hybrid T5, where I got the 61-inch T5 bulbs. Got a little aquascape going there. I've got a Fiji 20 sump here, which barely fit into that hole there. I'd like to have a bigger sump, but this is what I'm going to have at this time. I've got an Aquamax FC120 skimmer that's brand new. Oh, by the way, I should mention I got my tax return. That's why I bought all this stuff. So I'm trying to do it kind of economically, but we'll see what goes. I'm putting the clear fleece roller mat in there. I guess it's called the DI4 clear. The one you drop right into the your opening inside your sump where your sock normally goes. Right here, I've got also going to add a media reactor where I'm going to do the old DIY LEDs around it with some Chaeto inside. We're going to run some water through that to try to keep the nitrates and phosphates down. So that's the goal with that. We'll show that later on during the build. Some of my other tanks I have here. This here is an old 10-gallon. We call it an old 10-gallon Filipino Nipa Hut tank. I bought this tank in 1986. Primarily used to have fresh water in it. It sat dormant for about 15 years. I finally took it out about 2 years ago when I started getting into reefing again. It's I put a 10-gallon acrylic tank in here. I plumbed in a sump below. Down below I have I think it's a 12-gallon long. Got some softy corals in there, a clown, a 6-line wrasse, and I think I got a bandit, or whatever you call it, a bandit angelfish, or juvenile, whatever you call them. Not very good with fish names, getting better every day, but not quite there. trying to grow out that cool skull there. Again, this little 10-gallon experiment tank, which will probably be my QT tank once I get everything else up and rolling. When I get the 125 going, I'll probably take some of this, put this in the 125, and this would be my quarantine tank. So, like I said, it's got a little sump below. I've got one of those plunger type coolers there, which works really well for a small tank like this. There's some of the plumbing. Not the greatest job, but it's one of my first plumbing experiments. Down below, I got a little refugium. I should have probably turned the light on for this video, but it's the refugium's working rather well. I've got one of the Inkbird temperature controllers, which really works super well. I got to tighten up my wiring a little bit, but just, you know, it's still a tank work in progress that we're still working on. But it's coming out pretty well. I've had this one set up now for about 9 months, and it's coming in nicely. It's been through the ugly tank syndrome, and it's, you know, it's coming in real nicely. It's a small tank, kind of set my office there. Over here, I've got my future frag tank. So on BRS, I'm a big fan of BRS Bulk Reef Supply. On BRS, Ryan, probably a good 5 years ago, talked about setting up a frag tank using hydroponic tank materials. So this is a hydroponic 45-gallon, basically plastic tub on the top. I have an Orphic LED light strip there, and I also have two 48-inch 2-bulb T5 strips there for my lighting. So I got the Orphic in the middle, the LED bar, and each side I've got the T5 with the ATI lights in there, ATI T5 bulbs. So that's a frag tank. Down below is a 25-gallon sump. Inside the sump I have a 10-gallon Nuvo tank, which I'm trying to create a refugium in there. I've got a cheap LED type of grow light on top there. And this is going to become my future frag tank once I get the 125 set up. So we'll talk more about this as the videos go on. So, again, the goal here is to take all the corals out of that 66-gallon reef Red Sea Max, get them into this 125-gallon, get all these cool parts put on, and take it from there. Combat Corals!
And don't forget to subscribe to Combat Corals YouTube channel.
Combat Corals!